Okay,
Oh,
we can do
now
it
it
now.
is. So, and I was it a week ago that Jordan Reed had an hour or something with a meeting with Anna the Third, and I must say it pleases me very much because, as I just told Andre, my greatest desire is not to be sort of leading or prominent or whatever you call it, guru. I do this because I want you to do this, and I think today it is very important that we all walk into the spiritual world, move our higher bodies into, and then you might discuss, okay, this or that or whatever. And what is also interesting is, as I just told Andre also, that it seems to me that one of the easiest persons or entities to get in contact with is actually Anna the Third. Because several have received instructions from her and received answer to questions. So this it pleased me very much to hear, I must say. Yeah. You know, this is number 14, was it, Andre? 14 workshop. And I sometimes don't know to bring anything new. There is not easy to bring something new every time. Let me think, is there anything new? Well, as I told last time, I think I did, that I am more and more occupied with, what is this, confirm, cancel, or more and more occupied with the fourth path, the fourth path. I called in the beginning this, what I brought, this was especially very central for Vidar, and Vidar is, of course, very central today. But then I did not know about the fourth path. So, so personally, I am not much in contact with the second path, which maybe many of you work with today, but more with the fourth path, or actually even the third. So all four, actually. So I would like to hear if there are any questions, or yeah, I can elaborate on different things if you wish, or we can discuss questions or problems that you have. But I have not, in a way, prepared mini lecture as I have many of the other times. No?
Dear friends, if any questions, yeah, let's go ahead. So, floor is open. So, Val is first. Yes, go ahead, Val.
Okay. Well, first, I'd really like to thank Jordan for leading us through that session, leading us to Anna, because that was very effective. And I also found the comments, Bonnie, the comments that you made towards the end when you were describing how you were sensing the area around Anna. And that really resonated with the experience that I had. It was like a clear sentient experience. And so, like, since then, I've been actually doing what you said, Ara, which is kind of pursuing the fourth door. And well, I kind of looked at the other doors, but I don't know what it was, but there was something drawing me about the fourth door. So I guess what my question is, it involves Scythianos. So when I do this, I feel in a way like I'm connecting with Scythianos and then going in like into my physical body and into this experience. And it seems like I guess what my question is that Scythianos, I think you've mentioned in your books, kind of goes more into the physical realm of the body and also into the layers of the earth. And I could feel this part of my body, and I guess part of my question is which body is it that I'm using? I don't know if it's my phantom body or my elemental body, but I can, for many days, I was going out through the top of my head with this body and then into the earth and then down to the seventh layer where Anna was. But I found that I can actually come out just through the regular part of my body also. And so that's a little question for you, if you had any insight into that, because I'm not sure exactly how to distinguish all the bodies.
Well, I had some times ago I described this exercise. Were you then here? Yeah, how to distinguish. Well, that is, I started up by experiencing many years ago the elemental body, and I thought it was the etheric body. Because when I got in contact with especially anthroposophists and anthroposophic medicine, they talked almost exclusively about the etheric body. So you got this impression that that was it. And we had many exercises within meeting with doctors, anthroposophic doctors, um, to actually differ between the astral body and the etheric body, because they were teaching the astral body is the one that makes you sick and the etheric body is the one that makes you well. And then I So these two I sort of got a grasp of. The astral body is everything that has to do with the feelings, and feelings, as we know, are very different. We have anger and jealousy and fear and so on, which we know make us sick. And then the etheric, who sort of make us well. So these two I worked with for several years, and that is okay. And then, as a veterinarian, I observed that when a human being got an animal, this animal, within 6 weeks, got sick. And this disease was always the same as the owner, although it didn't have to be symptoms immediately. But still, it started to develop the same, not the same symptoms. I was writing about this in my first veterinary book. If, for example, a human being have a kidney problem, or there is an elemental body that expresses kidney, I didn't say elemental body at that time, then a horse will be lame, a cow will have mastitis, a dog will have eczema, a cat will have this or that, and so on. You know, they have their own symptoms. But all is treated through the kidney. And then I started to treat the human, the owner, and the effect on the animal, the healing effect was 3, 4, 5 times stronger and faster. And this was not etheric. So then I learned to see the difference between the etheric, which I thought was the healer, and this elemental body, which had these pathological elementals. And when Christ said, go out or leave him and such, he wasn't dealing with the etheric. He was dealing with the demons or the elemental beings that caused the disease. So then I started more and more to get a clear view of both the astral and then the etheric and then the elemental. So this was developed through my medical development or practice. So in a way, I don't know if I would be that clear about these differences if I hadn't had thousands of patients during my life. I had more patients than anybody else. I think I could have up to 100 or 120 patients a day when I was working most. So and at a certain time, I had 10% of all the horses in Norway as patients, and thousands of the owners and humans. So I got a very deep understanding of the difference of these bodies. So then when I discovered that these bodies were not only for healing or whatever, that you could actually go through them with them. I tend to write in my book in, through, in slash through slash with these bodies, with my consciousness. Then I realized that they were also 4 paths and 4 doors. And then somebody told me that Steiner talked about the 3 doors, and that we have to go through all the doors today. 4 doors. Steiner was not wrong, but that was at that time. 100 years is a long time. So the 4 doors. And somebody just showed me a book, because the last book I wrote was The 4 Paths. Yeah, there, the 4 paths. Yeah, there you have it. Lane, Lana, Badger. So, and also like it is in the spiritual world, it is often opposite of here. And Glenn Charles, he said to me, why do you write about the doors before you write about the paths? Because the normal would be to describe the path before the door. But we have this strange thing in the spirituals. Many things are opposites. You see the goal before you go the path. It's very strange. So I found the doors before, and then I realized, okay, to go through the door, you have to go the path. So then you have to turn back, sort of, and start at the beginning and then go the path. And the good thing with that is that you don't stray too much because you already know the goal. So it might be a good thing. But to your question, Val, how do you know the difference? That is not so easy to describe. You have sort of because I got this experience with patients, so I think that is the way I learn the difference. So when I then teach you the difference, it's not that easy. You have to have this difference within my mind or my soul. Took me a whole life.
Well,
Uh,
let me
60
tell you.
years. Yeah.
So I was just going to say that, and I'm curious about your experience at the door, because the reason why I'm asking is that in my experience, just going over the threshold into the 4th door, it's almost like I feel the whole realm or my awareness of thinking, feeling, and willing being completely subdued. It's almost like a different kind of consciousness. And it seems like those are so peripheral, and that the sensation that I get is one of water. It's either like an the element of water or in water, a water ether kind of experience, but the Christ force seems to come through this watery sense.
Yeah, and then we have the next thing. You know, we are used to thinking, to operate in thinking, feeling, and willing, to relate to the 3 paths. And then Vidar is teaching that this 4th part of our soul, which is now under development, which it didn't have a name and which I don't have a name, so I called it Time Karma Christ. And that is the thinking is, if you have the ability to think, you can think. If you have the ability to feel, you can feel. And then the will, you can will. But this 4th ability is, in a way, an ability to perceive Christ. And this 4th part of our soul is active when you come close to the 4th door or also walk the 4th path. And this is not thinking, feeling, and willing. They are, in a way, dampened, or what is it, lessened. And you have this 4th ability, which don't even have a name. And that is also in development, according to Vidar. This is not my teaching at all. This is Vidar's teaching. And he said, this is so important. You have to bring that to your friends, the anthroposophists, he said, that the three parting of both body and society is in a way is on the verge of being four parted. And I remember a very interesting lesson that I had 30 years ago, I guess, with Dr. Otto Wolff. He was reckoned as the greatest anthroposophic doctor in Germany. And he told us, it was a group of 25 doctors in Norway, that in his experience, this three parting of the human body didn't work as well anymore. We had to add something more, he said. And everybody was very quiet because we didn't know what to add. And I was actually very pleased because I had also observed the same. So there are people who have observed this this ability, and this is the closest I can describe it, is time, karma, Christ. And why time, karma, Christ? Because it has to do with Christ. And Christ is the master of karma, is the king of karma, and also have the ability to change karma and the law of karma into the law of grace. And that is also in a timeline this happens. So that's why I call it time, karma, Christ.
And so that gives me my question of going back to Scythianos. If you're describing this using time, I remember in one of your books where we can think about Saturn to Vulcan, and that's sort of like the Earth time. But then there's Scythianos, who goes from eternity to eternity. And it seems like it's just such a vaster realm.
Yes. When you sort of transcend the etheric, then you come into, then you realize that this universe we have here, which is dominated by Christ, who is sort of the king of this universe, started with Saturn and with Vulcan. That is just a part of the whole evolution. And it becomes actually quite obvious. So you can, Steiner say, I think it has no reason to talk about before Saturn. But to me, it has a reason to talk about before Saturn. So in that, maybe he have said it differently other times, but in just that moment, I disagree a little with that restriction of time. Or maybe you don't call it time before Saturn. Still, it is a cause-effect before Saturn, because that caused the Saturn to be created, or our universe to be created. It had a reason, it has a purpose. And if it has a purpose, it has a cause, and then implies a certain causality, which implies a certain time that we might call time. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that was an answer.
Yeah,
but
that was very helpful. And yeah, I was just wondering if Scythianos had relayed anything else to you about that.
Yeah, we have Interesting that you ask, because every Tuesday there is a group meeting. It is one woman from Russia and one from Sweden, and a doctor from Sweden and me who meet, and they call this the Skytianos group. And then we contact Skytianos every Tuesday at 7:30 in the morning, my time, and work with him, because we consider him to be an extremely important helper when you come to the spiritual world. So yes, he helps all the time, and he helps us or me in our trying to go further. Yes, so I cannot say exactly this or that, but we have him as a guide, sort of. But he is especially connected to the earthly mysteries and not the celestial mysteries. That is what I could say about that. And he actually, in the first time, he pointed me to go into to meet Anna. Without him, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, there just seemed to be something about doing Anna, Skythianos, and when you led us, Jordan, that was just really, I don't know, it was like a key thing. So I just want to send my gratitude to everyone.
So, Ari, can I give some statement regarding Scythianus as Russian native?
Of course.
Because he is playing a pretty significant role in formation of the aura of Russian folk. So, and super sensibly, he works from area of Caspian Sea.
All right.
If you know, you can find this place on the map. To me, it's eastern side of Caspian Sea, Karabagaz Gol. You can find it, and he sent radiation on lower part of Russia, which includes Ukraine, area of Ukraine, but also like in south of Russia. Another radiation, and actually this particular radiation or influence is bringing, I would say, it is preparatory influence for accepting of impulse of Christ. So, but impulse of Christ by itself supersensibly goes from Istanbul, from Hagia Sophia, as I understand, or let's say from Constantinople. And actually, it's also landing on southern part of Russian aura, so south of Russia. So where we can find the folk, which is not threefolded, but one-folded. So yeah, I mean, he's supersensibly working from the area of Caspian Sea, and he is a being who is responsible for all structure of European folks, because according to Steiner, and Steiner didn't speak a lot about Scythianus at all, but looks like he is responsible for threefoldness of European nations, people of East, West, and the Middle. So this is individuality who brought this particular threefoldedness into European folks for further development. That's it.
Thank you.
Well, if you are done, so we have a question from Timu. Timo, go ahead.
Yeah.
Timo,
Hey,
where are you?
thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but I lost you. I mean, I cannot see you. All right, so
I can
yeah,
see
go ahead,
myself.
Timo. What's your question? Yes.
Yeah, first I have greetings for Are from Markku Maula. The word is that the translation is almost finished. And yeah, then my actual question is about this again, like ability to distinguish the different qualities. And from perspective of doing like let's say regular meditation, if I do my circle meditations, I concentrate on the content of the meditation, and like depending on how it goes, I am more or less kind of connected to the meditation and experience like it in varying depths. So I was wondering, how can I kind of what is the being quality or quality of that experience when I kind of merge with a thought, with a meditation? What do I merge with? How does it relate in any meaningful way to the fading and merging with well, yeah.
Shall I try to answer or
Thanks.
say something about that? You see, and you use the word regular meditation, and that is very important to me to get through. That is, in regular meditation, we don't move in the meditation, and that means it creates a pattern in our spiritual makeup, our spiritual bodies, which can be used as a sense organ somehow. And that is what we usually do. So then we have this other thing where you move in the meditation. As you said, you merge with the meditation. And as soon as you move, that is what is called fading, merging, yes, or floating, then you actually move in the spiritual area where the meditation have brought you. That means if you meditate over a feeling and then you move into that, you can move in the astral. If you meditate over something etheric, you can move in the etheric. And if you then go into the structure, you can move in the elemental. So you have these two aspects of meditation. One is the creation of pattern, and the other is the movement. So when you ask, when you meditate and merge into the meditation, where are you? It depends on what you meditate on. If I meditate on Skytianas and move into that meditation, I will, or then I have a great big chance to meet with Skytianas. That is how I do it. You have a intention, then you get this meditative relation to this entity, then you use a certain will to make you move out, fade out, merge out, and then something will appear, which then hopefully is what you intended.
Yeah,
So
thanks. Helpful.
is that an answer? Yes?
Yeah, answers. I have an emergency, it seems, down there. So thank you very much. I have to pop off.
He disappeared?
Well, he has some emergency.
Okay.
He must go.
Okay. And what he talked about that you maybe don't know, that was Marko Maula. He is the Finnish translator of this last book, The Four Paths. So it's almost finished in Finnish.
Language.
Finnish.
All right. So Jordan is next. His question.
And I will also tell you, today I published a Norwegian translation of that book. You maybe think that I write in Norwegian, but I don't do that. I write actually in English and then I translate it to Norwegian. But I published it just 1 hour ago.
You said you have also one Kindle book in Russian, right?
Yes, 2, I think.
2, okay. It's Kindle, or it's hard copies.
Kindle, yeah. Kindle. I had to, I told you maybe that I had to lie a little when I published that.
Yeah. You said it's in Ukraine.
Yeah, I wrote it was in Russian, and then I got a message from America that we don't allow that. Then I just changed to Ukrainian, and then it was okay.
Close enough.
Yeah.
So
I felt a little naughty.
Yeah. We have questions from Jordan. So Jordan, go ahead.
Hello, RA. Thank you for your kind words, and thanks, Val. I was curious where you first met Skythianos and how that experience was, and now when you meet him, is there a certain place that he resides, or is it more of an intention that you hold before you merge, like you said, like holding that meditation of meeting Skythianos?
Yeah, I also told you that when you have been somewhere in the spiritual world, you don't have to go there again. You can then immediately be there. So when you have met Skythianos and have talked to him and have communicated, you can go almost like taking a phone to one of you. You are there immediately. So it gets easier and easier to connect to these spiritual beings. Was that an answer?
Oh, I was just curious, the first time that you met him, where were you, do you remember that, the first time that you met him?
Yes. Oh, yes. That was, first all the elemental path to the gate, then some months at the gate to receive information or teaching, then into the etheric world, where I used some weeks to understand how to see the etheric beings. And then suddenly I had no intention of him at all. Most of these beings I have met on this elemental path, then the gate, then the etheric after that, and then the devacanic. I didn't even know them. Like Anna, I had never even heard about her. So what I do is I meet these spiritual beings, and then I stand there and I say, "Who are you?" And sometimes this answer take 3-4 days. Like with Anna, I think it took 3 days. She said only the third. And I had to go home. And I always call it, when I go out of meditation, I go home to eat or sleep or what. So I didn't have, and afterwards, then also with Vidar, I hadn't any idea about who he was, so I had to go to Vidar Aasen to ask, who is Vidar? Yeah. So I'm just asking. I have. But when I have met them, then I know. Then I go directly back.
Yeah. Right. I can't remember what book that was in that you wrote about Scythianos. Do you remember? Was it the Northern Path?
I guess.
No. Yeah,
Second.
I'll have to go back and look. Yeah, second book. Okay. Can you remind me, with the doorway of sun, who the guardians are and what's beyond that door, like on that path? The
That
doorway of
is,
sun to your right.
yes, the first door, the one to the right.
Mhm, mhm.
That is interesting because there is one guardian in that door, and
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
she do not reveal his name easily.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I have one I work also with, one from Germany, Melanie. When I said he doesn't reveal, no, he hasn't told me either. That is the only spiritual being who sort of keep his name hidden or her name hidden. Well, I say his.
Yeah, it's a very mysterious. Every time I'm like looking at them, it's very mysterious is how I'd explain it. And today when I was practicing this morning, that doorway had changed a bit where instead of being closed, it was just open. It was just like it was, like trying to like show me what was behind it. But again, that being, I kept on asking, like, well, what's your name? Like, who are you? And there's nothing, it's just mystery.
It,
Um,
it is.
yeah, okay.
And I'm quite sure that 100 years ago, it was Mikael.
Oh, okay.
But
So
then Mikael
like,
was occupied with being an architect.
Uh-oh. So let's wait a little.
But
oh,
he is, and
Ari, sorry, you was frozen for 30 seconds or so. Just
okay,
letting you know.
okay,
So we didn't hear what you're saying.
okay, I start again. The 100 years ago, the guardian of the first door, the door of the sun, was definitely Mikael. And this door is what Steiner describes. But then Mikael was occupied or became occupied with being archai. And that is, as I might express it, a sort of full-time job. Now we have this mystery that Vidar was sort of appointed by the spiritual world to take over Mikael's work as the face of Christ or as the Sun Archangel. But and I don't know why that, maybe because this path of the elemental was sort of in time. But it seems that another archangel is then now the guardian of the first door.
that's the sense that I got, but just not, there's like a mystery to it still for some reason.
It is a mystery. And I have been trying several times to get this name, and I don't get it.
And then what is presented beyond that guardian on the pathway of the sun?
Can you repeat that, please?
What is like the pathway of the sun? Where would that lead?
It leads to the first door, the door of the sun.
So, beyond the door of the sun, what do you think resides.
Yeah. Where you come after the door of the sun is the 9 angel hierarchies.
Mm.
Where you come after the 4th door, that is above the 9 hierarchies, that is a Trinity. And behind the door of the elements, there you come to the structure of the earth or the etheric world. And beyond the gate of death, you come to the planetary system, the sort of the death system, what you go through after death. You understand death. So you might say behind the first door, you get to understand the hierarchies of angels. Behind the second door, you understand the structure of earth and etheric, earth and heaven, you might say that, the lower heaven. Behind the third door, the structure of death, the realm of death, the whole system of death, and the fourth door, the salvation.
Mm. Yeah, when I went to the fourth door, which has been interesting, like every time I fade, I kind of have like a practice where I'll go to Vidar first and allow him to kind of tell me where it would be most helpful for me to go. And when I go over to the fourth door and look at the guardians and see kind of that geometry of the disciples, where my attention has been going most recently, and it might be in your book. I'm excited to get your book to read the newest one, but the one specific point that they keep bringing me is when Jesus was with his disciples on the Sermon on the Mount, or the Sermon on the Mount, and how I don't know if it's just for me personally, that's what like they wanted me to focus on this specific point in the geometry, or if that felt like a central point from which kind of the almost like the doctrines were going to spread through, like the word, like the word of the disciples, and from there it's like the geometry was spread. That was kind of the impression I got, but I wasn't sure exactly kind of what I was perceiving, but that there was something important about that specific sermon on the Mount that kind of made everything disperse from there. So yeah, that's where I'm at, other than the work with Anna, which has been really healing. And yeah, it's amazing. I love this work because it's so healing, and they give you what you need to be working with, whether it's illness or yeah, purification of the different bodies, it feels like to me.
Yeah, there are many mysteries that show up with the fourth path and the fourth door. One mystery that you see, in the last weekend I had visit from Jan Robert Kelder. He's a Dutch anthroposophist, and he brought a new book that is published only in Dutch. And they have shown that a certain structure in Holland resembles the structure of Israel. And the names that Moses gave to different, especially those 40 years walk through the Sinai desert that Moses did, they have shown that this happened in Holland. So the author of this book is very confused, because their only sound conclusion is that Moses was a Dutchman, which is obviously not true. And he said that himself. This is obviously not true, but the evidence point to that. And now we have this interesting, because before Jan Robert Kelder showed me this book, he just brought it to read on the plane or whatever. It was actually by car he came. I had observed that there are two patterns that is imprinted in Israel. And one is done by the Christ and the disciples, as I have told, and the other was done by Moses. You might say, why did he go up and down through this Sinai desert? You know, it seems like a madman's walk. 40 years, but this was so necessary for the sort of rejuvenation or cleaning of the people. And this made a template. And this template you can find in many places in the world. There is another book who did the same and found out that actually the structure of this area was to be found in the Baltic area. And I was quite amazed. Yeah, okay, Baltic, that is where it all happened. It is impossible. But then I realized that this is a general pattern. It's in our bodies. You can see this pattern on the back of every human being, and it is up to us to fill it. And when you then create a new country, like Holland was sort of created, then you have a tendency to then fill in this template in this new country. I'm sure you could find it in Belgium too. And of course in America, which is a very new country. In Australia, it would be very interesting to look at it. You can see the templates from Israel. It's almost difficult to talk about that today. But then Israel is in a way this center of the world, which many have said that Jerusalem is the center, and which is sort of right. And although it's difficult today to say that when seeing all that happens there. But yeah, that was a comment on that.
Yeah, I've been sensing that template, and I'm really glad that you spoke to that, because I was trying to understand how it could be kind of like impressed upon these different, like it didn't make sense to me how it could be here within the United States, but that's what I was feeling, was like there is a template or a geometry of this that is awakening or something like that. I'm still trying to understand it, but it's interesting that like within ourselves, we're also kind of awakening that that template too. And it made me think of when I was taken to Golgotha and kind of shown the importance of Joseph in the acts that he did in like the process, was kind of this way like preparing different places upon the earth, like preparing it before a deed or something like that. And it makes me think too of if this is kind of a similar thing to that, where we're like preparing, having a hard time putting words to it because some of these things are like beyond, but yeah, thank you for that. That's a lot to think about.
So if some of you who are into geography and names and all this could do work on that, would be quite interesting.
Yeah, it would be great to start trying to map it out or something like that.
The name of this Dutch book was translated to English. It was Holland, the most mysterious country in the world, because he found these templates in Holland. It even had a place called Jordan. You had the river of Jordan there. You had everything. And this template, of course, this template, if we fill that with understanding, then we can in a way transform our country or our part of the world or the whole world in the template of Christ and or Moses. But that is a work I cannot do, that some of you do. But it would be a very interesting work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Bob is next.
This may not be a real question, but just a sharing. And I can't remember who or what prompted it, but about 6 weeks ago, the heart and the chamber of the heart was talked about, and I was led to fade. It doesn't help, obviously, with seeing because the eyes aren't open, but fading into what I could perceive to be the most interior chamber or spot in my heart. And I just stayed with that. And I found pretty quickly, I think Jordan may have said something about it last time, that there is a certain center place, a particular place, it feels to me, in the heart. And as I focused more attention, I had the experience in one, it was hard to stay there, but that I had the experience of being at a very, very much of a point, and then all of a sudden the periphery and both at the same time. And so that was an interesting in terms of presence. But as I stayed with this center point in my heart, it began to warm, and yeah, my heart became more and more warm, and that seems to have change my feelings, but also importantly give me more of a strength of I itself. I feel like in doing it, the force of my I is now stronger. And so it seems like it's a little, it's very important on its own, but also a supplementary when I take it back to fading out from a place or into, I feel much more confident. And it relates in part to the conversation in one of the last ones about worthiness, that it seems to, at least for me, reflect on the sense of worthiness and presence at the same time. That just in that in finding this warmth and love, because it does become a warming sense of love. So that seems to heal and respond to this question experience of worthiness or not, which again is another big help at least for me, in this process. But now in just this past week, because I've done it a fair amount of time now, and it helps I feel like my health during the day. And this, 6 weeks, it's not a really very long time, but in this past week, now my dreams are much more conscious. It's like a good chunk of my dreams are when I'm in at night, that I'm some of it is of course like normal dreams, but it seems much more related to something that's important for me to think about. Or a few nights ago, I actually got this tale or this image of what happened with a certain group of Jews, and I won't go into the tale, but it wasn't nothing I knew about, and I couldn't tell that it responded to anything for me, but it was just a beautiful image, like a tale that helped me understand some spiritual things. But anyway, that was my sharing. Oh, but I guess my question relating to it is, when I find this very particular point in my heart, it feels on one hand to be a particular point, but I also feel like I can always go into it deeper. And then to my surprise, I expect some color or light to come, but for that little point, it is always just a very, very dark little point, and that surprises me. But in any case, can anyone say anything about this particular point in the heart, and the interesting whatever about being able to keep going in when you seem to be at a particular point?
I would very much like to say something about that, because this is something I've been working with for years. When I do my diagnosis on patients, I do it from the middle of the heart. When you go through the body, it's just like when you go through the earth, there are 12 layers of the body. And this is a long, I could talk for hours about this subject, but I will not. I will try to restrict myself. But there is very, very important, and it has many possibilities to go into the center of the heart. There are 4 layers in the heart, what I call the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th layer. And from the different layers, you can do a differentiated diagnosis of animals or humans. These 4 layers do also reflect the 4 levels of I consciousness: the under I, the id, the ego, the superego, and the Christ ego. So you have sort of 4 possibilities of ego consciousness in the heart. What is also interesting, if you go in the exact middle of the heart, there you will see, because I always have this certain ability to see, you see a cross in human beings. This cross is like this in human beings. When you go into the middle of the heart in a dog, there is also a cross there, but that cross is like this, and this. There are humans, and here is dog. If you go into the middle of the heart of a horse, I found there something that I did not expect. There is a Russian cross. That means you have vertical, then you have this tree, 1, 2 straight and 1 at the angle. And I was wondering for a long time why the horse have a Russian cross in the middle of the heart. It sounds silly, maybe. But then I found, I put the question the opposite. Why do the Russians have a cross that the horse have in the middle of the heart? And the Russians were very attached to their horses, so they surely, and they were clairvoyant in old times, so they surely saw this cross. In Norway, we have a plant up in the mountain which is called røss. And this means that the horse like to eat it. And some say that that is the name of the Rus, which is the Russians. So there is a connection between horse and the middle of the heart and this plant. But there are other explanations also for the name of the Rus Empire from the 1,000 years ago. It can also mean rowing, or that they came with rowing boats, rowing their ships to found the Kiev and the Novgorod empires. But as you said, Bob, very important, in the middle of the heart, there are enormous possibilities of going further. Because there also is a portal that leads to an area of the spiritual world that is outside the 4 gates. And I must admit that I stop at the middle, and there I use it as a diagnostic tool for dogs, horses, and humans. And I haven't investigated the further travel, the middle of the heart as a portal yet. I have done it a little, but not enough to bring results to you.
Is there?
So thank you. That was a very, very important and good questions.
Oh, good. So to you, what you've just said, the last part of that is, I don't expect, because it's not like fading into a plant or something. It's an inward place in my heart. Is there anything that I could? Is this just not part of what's possible in this fading because I'm not doing it with my eyes open, or is there something I could change, or is that just not the way it's going to work for this kind of fading?
I would advise you to fade into somebody else's heart with your eyes open and not your own, because it is much more difficult to go into your own things than others.
Okay.
So, for example, maybe the most easy is a horse. Go into the horse heart. They are very welcoming. And go into the middle. There are 4 layers. And then try to find the middle and see what you see there. And then if you reach that point, go further. Use it as a portal.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Elise, please go ahead.
Thank you. There's 2 areas. I don't know if I'm allowed to, but one has to do with the work of Christianizing. And I'm interested in a few different things in that regard. And one of the things that I'm wondering about now is you're speaking about this new aspect of the human, of thinking, feeling, willing, and then this fourth aspect. Does Christianizing have something to do with that work of developing and connecting with this fourth aspect? So that's just one part of the Christianizing questions. The other part is I've been doing more with humans that are offering permission. And I wondered about if you've ever worked with the work of Christianizing whatever it is, the illness or the elemental body of the human, when not in person, in other words, over the internet. And if you have any thoughts or comments about that. So that's my part about Christianizing, but then I want to talk about this template piece because I have something about that as well, but that's the first. Can I offer the first and then offer a second?
You mean you have now two questions? You want a third? That's what you say?
I want to add, I want to talk a little bit about the templates at some point, but I thought I could start with the Christianizing if that's okay.
Okay. So is yes to both questions? Was that too short answer?
No, that's excellent. And then maybe there is some, sorry, I don't want to be greedy, but there is something actually.
If you go into,
pardon me? Could I ask something more about the Christianizing? Just to add a little bit to that.
Yeah, I was just going, but there was some problem with the net, I think. It is actually quite easy to Christianize elemental beings through the net.
Okay. So that's very helpful. I'll keep working with that. My other question has to do with in the Christianizing work, the different kind of experience I'm having working with trees, let's say, working with bodies of water, working with animals. And then I haven't really been doing any in relationship to large minerals or crystals or anything like that. I haven't really touched into that. But I was wondering about then if Christianizing is part of this work of developing this new fourth realm of our humanness. Do you have anything to say about how we are partnering then with these different kingdoms? Like, is it, if you could speak to that, is that something that's very important as part of it? Because it seems to me quite different working with a human being in the Christianizing and then working with these other kingdoms.
Can you repeat the exact question, please?
So this work of Christianizing and the developing of this other aspect beyond the thinking, or in addition to thinking, feeling, and willing, I'm just wondering about our role as humans in relationship to the other kingdoms. So the animals, the plants, and the crystals or mineral stone beings. Is that just the role of the human being in relation to the other kingdoms? And if that is really part of what is essential of developing this fourth aspect of our humanness.
I have not thought about that. If something is more important than other, generally I could say that, of course, human beings are very important, but so is the whole world. So I cannot really answer what is more important, but that all is, of course, a development of understanding Christ, and karma is also with that because it deals with these elemental beings are part of our karma because they are created, especially pathological elemental beings, they are created as a result of our more or less negative deeds. thoughts and feelings. So yes, I guess the human, to Christianize the elemental beings in humans are the most important, but they have to ask you, of course, to do it. You cannot just
Yes,
do
that's
it as
clear. Yeah.
as you can do with others.
Yeah, thank you. Is it okay if I just ask a bit or speak a bit to the template, this whole question of the template appearing in many
okay.
places?
Yeah.
So I've had the opportunity for the last couple of decades to work with Marko Pogacnik and other people in his sphere. And one of the things which we have learned or experienced over and over is that if a human being takes a piece of land and, let's say, subdivides it or creates a certain framework, then the land, and it had, let's say you have one piece of land, you divide it into 5 or 6 parcels. Then those parcels, they reorganize themselves. They create new organs, and that every landscape has these different qualities of activity. So heart quality, vital energy quality. Often they have Christ places where there's a kind of portal of Christ energy. So these landscapes that have then been reassigned in our human consciousness, where we divide them, they create a whole entire series of these, a complete organ system. So the organs that were active in the original large piece have to kind of dissolve, and then they have to reform. I call it, reorganizing. So the other piece, which is interesting maybe, is that, the earth as a whole has these different places where there are certain particular activities. So Marko has felt and spoken a lot about Jerusalem as the heart organ of the world. And, in that sense, what is taking place there is a picture of the sort of state of our human heart organ. It's a very strong picture of that. But this notion that you could have something appearing in its entirety as a form of Jerusalem. And, there's Blake, of course, talked about the New Jerusalem. There's some kind of idea of this New Jerusalem arising through some kind of evolutionary work. To me, that maybe has something to do with this pattern that can appear anywhere. So it can appear and be created in the Netherlands or in America or and you're talking about it as being like this image of the spine. It's something to do with the wholeness of a life system that has the heart at the center and the evolutionary heart at the center. And so Jerusalem is a picture of that. That's how I would understand what people were talking about when they're saying this template can appear the Netherlands or anywhere. So I don't know if that helps, but that's what came to me.
Yeah, that is actually exact what I tried to say and observed. Yes, thank you. Am I frozen?
Yes. No, you're good. Are you good? So, Bonnie?
Yes,
Bonnie?
thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, my comment relates a lot to what you just said, Elisa. I've been fascinated with the grids of the earth for decades, and recently, been studying it and in relation to the chakras of the human body. And I mean, in the chakras, they go right along the spine, right along the back. And didn't Rudolf Steiner say that in the future, so-called future, which is now, the heart of anthroposophy would be in the Chicago area? And I don't know where he said that, but if anyone has a reference. So what I'm seeing as a possibility, you know, the heart, you know, if you picture the human body lying down across America, the head is mostly in the east. You know, it's very much to do with the thinking, and the west, you know, is very will oriented. So I'm wondering if that is what you were talking about as well, Ra. You know, because there are, and also in the chakras around the earth, the heart is the Mount of Olives, or around Jerusalem, the whole area of Jerusalem. And you know, there are many power points, you know, or nodes where the grid meets, and those are like portals around the world. And I've also been working in Peruvian shamanism, which works directly with that, you know, with the mountains and the rivers and the whole geography of the earth in relation to energies. So yeah, it's not really a question, it's just a sharing. And if anyone has anything to add to that, or any insights about that, I'd be happy to hear it. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ari? Does that sound?
No, just I'm listening, and that fits very well with what I start to observe. And you see, there were old templates, old structure, but this was sort of renewed at the turning of time, as Judith von Halle said, the turning point of time. That is where everything turned, and that was created a new template, or new templates that are Christian, related to Christ, which will, in a way, grow stronger, and the old shamanic will grow weaker. That I've seen. There is a controversy or fight, or what you say, between the shamanistic templates, the old and the new Christian. This is also a very interesting discussion. Of course, you can change the old to the new. That is possible. But yes, I hear what you say, and it becomes more and more clear that these templates will be stronger and stronger, especially those that relate to Israel, with Jerusalem in the middle as the heart, created by the disciples and Christ, what they did there. Yeah.
And it also feels like
this is a very interesting item of work that we should do, to map out the Christian templates of the world and of countries, and America or Holland or whatever.
You know, in the creation of countries, as Elisa was talking about, it kind of feels like fractals, you know, or holograms that spread around the world and within us. And then it also brings to mind, you know, the what is it called, the scary action from a distance that Einstein talked about, the you know, when
entanglement.
Yeah, entanglement, right. So, you know, if we work on that from our hearts, we can also change the earth. Influence the earth. Yeah, change the energy of the earth.
Because we have these templates in us. We have these templates in ourselves. And if we can fill them with good, with Christ consciousness, then they will influence the whole universe, actually.
Yeah, and vice versa. You know, there are people that work on biodynamic farming and actually work on the earth, or in the earth, and that feels like to me, I'm sensing it, that it influences the human structure, human being.
Mm.
You know, it's like Aini, you know, give and take. It doesn't go one way. It always goes two ways. One influences the other.
Mm.
That was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I just say something out of content of anthroposophy? So I think it's important to know that beings of Archaea, and Michael now is one of them, they are specifically harvesting human thoughts. So they are gathering human thoughts and sending them upwards. So the proper way of social changes or changes in the world, it's working with hierarchies. So with big beings of Archaea specific. And first hierarchy hopefully will make changes in the world.
What do you mean they're harvesting souls?
Not the souls, thoughts, human thoughts.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So they gathering them, translating into divine language, I would say, and representing it for higher hierarchies, which are more mighty. So, because normally human think you can are kind of thinking so any social changes can be done by actions, which can be quite aggressive. So, but a spiritual way just address it to hierarchies. Sue is next. Sue.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on this conversation about the heart and Bob's experience of going deep into it and it being a dark tunnel, and the conversation about the relationship between human beings and the earth and Christianizing, and Judith von Halle's teachings in Das Wort, particularly in the very last chapter. She talks about the shape of the head and the earth being spheres, and that's actually an enclosure of, it closes off to the cosmic forces, and that it creates an aversion to the cosmic forces, whereas the lower body, being a ray, or star shaped with the limbs, rays out into the cosmos and has an affinity with the cosmic forces, and that's what it's created of. And that it's in the rhythmic system, the heart, the center of the heart, that mediates between the head. We know this in anthroposophy, mediates between the head and the limbs and the nervous system. The rhythmic system mediates between the metabolic system and the nervous system. And so she's been talking about the need to spiritualize our thoughts, feelings, and will in order to purify our souls and reach future Vulcan. But here she then brings in how this swing between aversion to the cosmos and attraction to the cosmos is like a pendulum that we're constantly in, and the rhythmic system is modulating it, but that when she looks supersensibly at the point that turns the pendulum back on itself, it is beyond the cosmos, and that it is the Christ force coming in through the cosmos into the heart of the human being, that then is bringing cosmic forces into the human to spiritualize and purify our lower members, and then to bring that up through the heart, through our heads, to spiritualize our thinking and to bring the cosmic forces in. Now, this is all in relationship to the earth, which is also a sphere and cut off to the cosmic forces, so that it is up to the human being to bring in this Christ force and give it back to the earth through our limbs, through our wills, through our speech. This is the book about the logos, das Wort, through our thinking, feeling, willing, and speech, and that this is how we affect the transformation of the earth, not by this external stuff that everyone thinks is enough through, the air and the water, and she calls it external and superficial, but that it's through bringing in, transforming our own selves in every way through the Christ force and bringing it into the earth is what the earth needs for its transformation. So I just, and she also talked about how in the center of our heart, there is this bundle that's tightly bound up, and that she didn't say this, I get the impression that it begins to loosen as we bring the Christ force in. So this comment, I haven't done this meditation that Bob had, but about it, the heart being this channel, and like you haven't found the end of it yet. I just got the image of this is the Christ force going out into the cosmos, beyond our spheres here. So I just wanted to offer that, and curious if you had anything to say about that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's interesting. When I said earlier that when you go to the middle of the heart, there is a cross there, which is a little different in the different species. But there is sort of, through this cross, it opens sort of beyond the cosmos, beyond the universe. And that is, I could also said to the Christ, which is higher than everything we have. So yes, I would agree. It is quite arrogant to say I would agree with Judith in that matter. And this is starting to loosen up, yes, because we have now this possibility of the fourth door, the fourth path, and also the fourth ability of the soul. It was very interesting that you said thinking, feeling, willing, and speaking. And I was wondering if this speaking, because this speaking is more than speaking, it has to do with these sound elemental beings that she talked a lot about, which are creative. And if that can be what Vidar meant by time, karma, Christ.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also made me, because last time you had us leave in their meditation, leave through the fifth chakra and the larynx, and that's where I met up with Christ, was by exiting through my larynx.
Okay.
So it does seem related to the sound forces.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Claire, please.
Well, hang on. Yes,
Yeah.
hello. Yeah, my question is relating to the templates. I just finished Ragnarok, and I wanted to, with the 4th grade class. It was very interesting, the reactions of the children. And I just wanted to ask Ara, as a northerner, one template going away and a new template coming in with Vidar and Magni saving the day. What happened to all those other beings who went away? Odin and Thor and the others. So I'm thinking of one template of the other, and a destruction of a world and a new world coming. And then this concept of the All-Father with Odin, what did that mean? And yet it was spoken about as another All-Father above Odin as the All-Father.
Yeah. I think that will bring us too far just now with the whole Edda and the Nordic gods. But generally you can say if a god die, he actually transform. They do not die, but they transform to a higher stage and serve the world order Odin. He is one of the guardians together with Christ at the 4th gate. So they go into service of Christ, both Odin and Vidar and Balder and the whole.
Good, yeah, that was what I wanted to ask, whether you've met some of the others there on your.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yes. They're all there. They're all there.
Claire, that's it? You good? Okay, he's good. All right, Jordan, please.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to this one. There's so much here. I was just gonna say too, with the pathways, that the teaching that Anna presented me with, the secret chamber of the heart has been where I've been fading most for the past maybe like 10 days or something like that. That's where I've been led, like Ari says, you're kind of taken to where you left off, and it's pretty interesting how everyone's mentioning this kind of like dark place, but within her teachings with that secret chamber, what originally was shown as kind of the balance between the masculine and the feminine, the two trinities, now is opening up to its own kind of like tunnel, like how Bob was saying, like an endless, kind of feels like an endless pathway. And so through that, it feels almost like another pathway is opening up within this kind of like heart, the pathways of the heart, which to me feels like the Christ Sophia. There's definitely like a Sophianic presence that is there, and that might just be from the teachings of Anna, why it's specifically Sophianic, I'm not sure. But it does feel like a pathway that is leading me to kind of this more Sophianic principle. So just wanted to add that too for a contemplation if anyone is interested in that.
Thank you. There is something there in the middle, yes, which we have to work more with. Either you call it the 5th chamber, or you call it the dark area in the middle, or not dark as adversarial, but still unknown. And this is where the 4 chambers meet, in the exact middle of the heart. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that at the time being.
Anthony, please.
Yes, what Jordan just said, I've been thinking right through our conversation today, because as you know, I've been working with Michelangelo's painting of the Sistine creation of Adam. And in the heart that he portrays are all the hierarchies, etc. But towards the middle, it's interesting because he has Sophia there. And as Jordan was just speaking of the Sophianic feeling coming from the center of the heart. Well, Michelangelo has painted Sophia, which is wisdom. And that's what emanates from there. And one knows that it's Sophia because her hand is on the Father God's arm. So one would question, who dare touch the Father God, except for his daughter, Sophia, wisdom. But it's interesting where he's located, Sophia, which is almost central in the heart. So I thought I'd bring that up, Jordan. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, two more hands. Nancy, please. Nancy.
Hello.
Hi.
Question about the center of the heart. In my experience, the deepest sensation is, and I probably have been influenced by reading through Steiner as well, that it's not quite the middle, but it's a little down and to the left. And whether I've been impressed with that idea or whether it is a true sensation, that is a sense of where the most intense felt sense of another chamber resides when I tune into that. So that's one observation to comment on. I have a few. I've worked with the work of Robert Sordello for a number of years, where developing the capacities of the heart has been first and foremost. And part of the process that we use is by developing the felt sense within the heart in a phenomenological type of way, and saying the word heart at different levels. And that seems to open up a different realm of the heart presence. So I can feel it at a very physical level, and then moving into another level, which I'll maybe name the etheric level. And then the third time saying the word heart, and there's a radiance that seems to connect with the greater radiance of the heart of the world or the cosmos. So I find that bringing this all together with a conversation today, pulling these themes together is very rich. And it seems to be the important next evolution, obviously, for humanity, as I recall, your work, Ari, talking about how Ahriman is incarnating through each of us by us having a sense of truth that we think is truth, and therefore claiming it as the one. But Ahriman has that ability to give us perhaps 90% of that truth, but the other 10% is coming from somewhere else, and that's where divisiveness can really take reign. And that's an obvious thing in our world, where so many people have a version of truth that they're very committed to because they're coming from somewhere else, but it's not a complete truth. So the only way we can safely navigate this time is through developing our heart consciousness.
It's very interesting what you said about what Steiner said about the middle of the heart, that it is not exactly in the middle. Because I had a month-long discussion with a colleague in Frankfurt in Germany, because she has a problem in finding the exact middle of the heart. And then I realized I was observing myself when I go to the middle of the heart. I am not staying in the middle. I have a sort of pendulating. So I get the area of the middle. If I go exact to the middle, that doesn't work for me. And that didn't work for her. That's why we had this long discussion. So when I go to the middle of the heart, I sort of pendulate. It's like the eyes, maybe when you look at something, the eyes are not still. They go back and forth. And when you stand straight in the middle of the floor, you don't stand still. You all the time go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Otherwise you fall. So I do actually the same when I go to the middle of the heart and find this portal that leads beyond the zodiac, so to say. Almost like Steiner described the secret man, or the hidden man, the hidden geheime Mensch. So if you try this middle of the heart, try to then, till next time, I will actually love that we try to go further into the middle of the heart and try to do a little pendulating, not like a movement in the middle. Don't stand still. That is just a little comment to that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So let's take a question from Sue, and maybe you should think about it for our meeting afterwards. So
it's more of a comment about the heart and Sophia, and wanting to remind us that in the book of Revelations, that Sophia is described as the woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And she's referred to as the bride of the Lamb. So, and the Lamb is Christ, the Lamb of God. So she's his bride. She's always, well, I want to say she's always present with him. There's actually, we're seeking reunification of Sophia and Christ as well. But I believe I've seen her, that she is with him. And even though she's in the dark and elusive, and she's, Valentine Tomberg talks about her in this way as well, and that this is connected to the heavenly Jerusalem that someone else brought up, the new paradise, the heavenly Jerusalem that we are also creating as we reunite with Christ and Sophia. And so I just needed, there's been so many threads here, and I'm loving this conversation. Thank you.
thank you.
So we find a new date?
Well, let's do it. So I will open my calendar.
Here I open my calendar.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking for mid-August, I believe.
Mid-August.
So
yeah, what about 16th?
Sounds very good. Any objections from you, friends? Ari is good for 16th, so also.
Yeah.
And do you remember 20th? This is day of Vidar, as he said, August 20th.
Wow. Yes. But that is a Wednesday, so should we try a Wednesday? The 20th?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it will be a little bit hard for many of us because some people are still working, and we are from different continents.
Okay, we do 16.
So, but we can do something. I mean, if you would like to, maybe not as long, but you know, something. I mean, some kind of celebration for August 20th.
We can have a little meeting then. For those who can.
Yeah. Yes.
For
informal, which will be maybe not a workshop, but something which is celebration of Vidar's Day.
Yeah. Good. Then we have decided both.
So let's schedule our workshop 16th, right?
Yeah.
So, and we will do a little celebration on 20th for Vidar Day. Sounds very good. Yeah, dear Ari, thank you so much for your workshop, and you friends, thank you for joining. So let's conclude now. Please say thank you and say goodbye to each other. So, and video will be posted.
So appreciate you all. Thank you.
For a wonderful meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ari, for all your work.
Thank you.
Goodbye, friends.
Thank you for working with me.